very good. I'm not based out of Pune. I think as Ricky mentioned, I have worked in many financial sectors around the world. I'm very happy to interact with the same students. Currently for your next year students, PG2 and teaching pricing management as subject. So very honored, and I think I looked at the context in which I'm delivering this lecture today. We are writing chapters 10 and 11 from Kotler's book, and Ricky has been kind enough to give me the entire background. So in that book, Kotler talks mainly about 3 types of pricing strategies, right? So I'll overlay that. I'm not going to exactly talk about what Kotler has mentioned in that book, but I'll be in that context as I'm mentioning what is my experience, right? So thank you. So if you look at pricing as a topic, what do we understand when somebody says price? So that's something that we will discuss first. What exactly is price? And I think we just now mentioned about the psychological aspects of pricing also, which is very, very important. Little bit on that, and then we look at how I look at evolution of pricing strategies over a time time, right? So how they have evolved to where they are today, and then those 3 key pricing strategies that Kotler has mentioned, I will give my perspective on those. So, what do we mean by price? What is the price for you? When someone says price, what do you understand by that?
The amount of resource one is willing to sacrifice in order to obtain the good or service.
Alright. More delicate definition, but yes.
It's the monetary value of a certain object or service.
Monetary value, right? Alright, what else?
Value.
Value.
Value for exchange.
Exchange, right? Alright. So it doesn't have to be monetary. If I'm bartering something, still there is a price, barter price. But yes, I think overall you have captured the essence of it. So in general terms, price is the amount one gives in exchange for something, right? That something could be anything. I could be having a haircut. I could be buying this kind of a TV or a remote or something like that. That's a very simple definition the way we understand. But pricing has a lot of importance when it comes to marketing, right? And it is one of the important levers, and Kotler himself says everything else in marketing generates cost, and pricing is the only thing that generates revenue. Right? End of the day, why are you being employed by the organization, or even if you are the CEO of the organization, why do you employ somebody for marketing? But to make money, right? Cost will come definitely. You will get cost. You have no choice about that. But when we talk about price, there are a lot of things that impact price, right? So one of the things is, for example, cost of production. Your pricing does not have to be essentially linked to cost of production, not necessarily, because the customer doesn't care what is your cost of production, right? If I'm going to get a 32-inch TV at X price, I like whatever value it delivers, I don't care whether your cost of production is higher, I'm not going to pay a higher price for that, right? So yes, but as a seller, we have to worry about cost of production, because if we continue selling below our cost of production, we'll obviously end up being bankrupt. So there is a linkage in cost of production. Competition, we cannot ignore competition, because we are not the only people in the marketplace. If you are government, you can afford to do a lot of things, right? Because government at times, if you sole operator, they are the only ones who are offering some services, right? Railways in India, for example, you don't have a choice, right? You want to take railway, there is only Indian Railways. There is no competition. But in most of the places, you face the competition, and you have to worry about the competition, their pricing strategies, at what price they are selling. Doesn't mean you have to sell at that price, but you have to definitely study that. And you need to worry about repeatability of business, because you are in the market, because you want to get the business from the same customers again and again. So to make sure that they are happy after that decision, right? So, and the way the psychology of it works is, most of the times people want to feel happy about their purchases. You talk to somebody who buys the Apple phone, Apple 14, 15, some version came recently. A lot of people say there is no difference in the previous version and this version. But if you talk to somebody who's bought the latest version, you will very, very passionately justify how his decision is correct, his or her decision is correct. That is because we want to feel good about our decisions, right? As human beings. If you are being excessively critical about ourselves, we'll develop suicidal thoughts, right? So that's a very important thing in psychology. And then business volume. All organizations want to grow. This hardly you will find any organization that doesn't have the growth target, correct? It could be in a niche. For example, in a niche you won't probably become a $1 billion organization in 10 years. Still you want to grow. Maybe your target is $100 million, right? So all these factors you have to take into account when you want to decide on your pricing. There are few more also. This is just an example that I took some time back. I think you will be able to recognize which e-commerce site I have taken this from. Amazon, right? So typically this is what you see. Now what are the things you see here when you look at this? How Amazon is using pricing very, very powerfully, right? They understand this, they are perfectly into the science, right? They conducted a lot of experiments across the globe. You know, in France, for example, they ran an experiment for some time. They, started, here you see free delivery, right? They started charging extra for delivery. They wanted to experiment with that. And they found that the volume went down tremendously. They were not charging higher price to the customer. Now here it is 249 rupees, maybe it cost roughly 50 rupees to deliver. Price was brought down to 200 and then 50 rupees were there for delivery. Of course it was in maybe a euro at that time, right? That's okay, but still the volume dropped considerably. And that is why you will find almost all the products quoted inclusive of taxes and inclusive of delivery charges, because you want to simplify the decision making process for the customer. Okay? You very frequently find people putting this their hotel bill on Twitter, Facebook, etc. saying here we are not doing that, GST will be on top of this. Right? So if you make it simple for the customer to understand the price, that is one of the things which will help you take the decision. So how you convey the price is extremely important. You cannot do it in all the cases, it's not possible, but wherever you can, simplify it for the customer. Make it easy to take the decision. You also see that there is a MRP which is stuck off 960 rupees, right? If it is stuck off, if MRP you are not selling it, why do you need to show that? Why are they showing that MRP still?
Heavy discounting.
Absolutely. You are buying a product which is otherwise 960 rupees. You have to convey that, right? This product normally sells at 960 rupees and we are giving it to at 249. So I think approximately almost 74%. We are giving it to at 1/4 the price, right? And this makes the customer very, very happy. Many times you have this sorting. There on Amazon, you can sort, largest discount, etc. You can see that the offers you can select. Right? A lot of people look for value in those terms, right? We may look at our product in different terms, but customer is looking for a discount as well. They are conveying that. Now there are two things. They are saying savings. They are showing in rupees as well as in percentages. Right? Now that's also very important. If you are selling a 10 rupee product at 6 rupees, 4 rupees saving doesn't look that much attractive, right? But still it's 40% saving, right? So normally Amazon is not doing that, but in many places, if the percentage saving is higher, you will put it in more, maybe you will put it in red font, bigger one, bold, size will be bigger, right? And then the amount will be shown in a smaller font, because that's not so significant for the person who is buying it. But if it is 40,000 rupees product and you are giving 15,000 rupees discount, maybe you want to highlight that, because 15,000 by itself is a very significant amount. So, and inclusive of taxes, right? The customer doesn't know what is the tax on this particular item, right? GST even practitioners struggle, you have to go back, in my company I have to go back and see how much do I have to pay reverse GST on this, right? In spite of being a chartered accountant, right? And then you can imagine if you make it difficult for the customer to calculate price by including GST, right? By that time customer will move on to some other item. They have gone through all that, whether we should include delivery, whether we should include taxes, how should we display that, and that is one of the reasons they are able to increase their sales on a year-to-year basis. So there is a huge amount of psychology behind how you price and how you sell it to the customer. This is one more example. This is Tesla, right? So people will go to Tesla's website primarily because they want to feel proud that I am saving environment, right? And the default price is shown including potential savings. Right? So that $69,000 price which is there, it includes the savings. So somewhere it is mentioned, costs include potential incentives and gas savings of so and so. And you have to then change the tab to purchase price. Normally you would like to see purchase price first. That's what I'm actually paying, right, in monetary terms. But they know the customer who's coming there will not complain, because that customer is more serious about saving environment. In normal times, I think this should not be like this. Personally, I don't think so, right? If I'm going to look at Tesla, I'm looking at, because I'm more environmental conscious person, so that's why I'm going there, so I don't complain about this, right? So that's how they display the price. So we have to look beyond the price that is quoted there, 15 rupees, 50,000 rupees, whatever it is, because you want to understand and map it to customer buying behavior and decision making. We saw that in the Amazon's case. Sell more to the customers, of course, we want to grow, right? So selling again to the same customer, getting the larger wallet share, etc., which you guys understand very well. best possible price when delivering the highest possible value. Have you read this book called The Go Giver? I think you should read that, right? So it's a very simple, in fact, simplistic book, right? Very small book. You can finish reading it in about 1 or 2 hours, right? So just buy and read that. It gives some 5 fundamental principles of building a successful business. And one of the principles is, at the best possible price, you give maximum value to the customer. Don't compromise on the value delivered to the customer. And that's what also you want to convey when you are setting a particular price. It can mean that you are setting up the price higher, okay? If you have to convey your premium positioning, you can't afford to set the price low. Anything that is, mass market is always having a relatively lesser price. And get repeat business from the same customer. As I said, the customer should feel happy. He should be able to justify to his friends, proudly say, I got it at this price, right? And of course, somebody who is buying the Mercedes wants to say, I bought it at a higher price. Somebody wants to buy a clicker or something like that, we might say, I bought it at a low price, right? But same thing, we want to justify and feel happy about it. Patrick Campbell is one of the guys who has written a good book on pricing. So he says it's the exchange rate on tangible and intangible aspects of what you deliver to the customer, right? So it's a value for cash. So it includes both tangible as well as intangible aspects. Because many times what you are selling is the experience you are selling. So in Pizza Hut, I pay, let's say, 400 rupees for the pizza, right? Because it's a different experience. In Starbucks, I pay 250 rupees for a coffee, and at times I feel the coffee in a roadside outlet, 10 rupees is better than that, but still the experience is different, right? So that's what is an intangible aspect of pricing. Now, having spoken about it, I'll come to the key topic of this particular chapters, right? So Kotler has discussed primarily 3 pricing strategies, right? There are many more. In my book, I have explained about 50 pricing strategies, right? And there are more than that. Obviously, you can't just do justice to them. We'll just look at how they evolved over a period of time. So I've classified them. Of course, this is just my perspective: traditional, modern, sales-driven, risk-reward, and innovative. Right? So we are in the age of innovative pricing. Right? We'll look at some of the, so for this particular lecture, I'm not looking at them in these buckets. I'll be looking at them in those 3 buckets which Kotler has put them in, right? Cost, cost-based pricing, etc. Right? We'll look at it. Traditional strategies have been existing for a very, very long period of time, decades, centuries, right? So they have been existing for a fairly long period of time, and these include strategies like cost-based pricing, right? Your pricing has to be linked to your cost because you have to survive. You have to prosper, you have to get some money for reinvesting, growing your business. For example, these strategies involved, and I think they became very, very sort of a feature of large-scale businesses during World War I and II. Because, maybe it is the Hitler side or it is the French side, right? They had to, buy a lot of things at a certain quality. Soldiers needed uniform, they need shoes, right? You have to buy your spares for your aeroplanes, you have to buy missiles, and everything you have to incentivize people. Now look at the World War scenario, right? In that scenario, you wanted assured supply. Your soldiers had to go into Russia, right, and had to fight the Russians. How Hitler must be incentivizing, right? And you needed good uniforms. Obviously, there's minus 20 degrees temperature there or minus 40 degrees, and you need your uniforms very, very fast, right? How are you going to do that? You will tell people, you produce what is it going to cost? Tell me, I'll give 30% about that. That is the best incentive for people, because in the wartime, the costs are not stable, right? We saw what happened in last 1 year. 2022 is entirely different from what we saw for the first 21 years of this particular century, right? Relatively stable prices, less interest rates. In India, from 2013 till 2021, relatively stable exchange rates, right? So that's why we had a lot of FI inflows, we had a lot of FDI, and we had FI inflows coming into bond markets, right? So those things were happening because we had a relatively stable interest rate as well as the foreign exchange rate. But all that has gone topsy-turvy in 2022, and the result is a result of Russia and Ukraine war, right? Partly, I think so. It's a result of that. Plus, there is of course what is called QT, right? Quantitative tightening that US and other countries have started doing. So they are now sucking the money out of the market. But and imagine those scenarios where this world war was going on, right? The commodity prices were not stable, because if I am a manufacturer, I don't know at what price I am going to get leather for producing shoes tomorrow, right? Whether I'll get it or not in the first place, and at what price I'm going to buy cotton bales, right? So I want somebody who's assuring me that, don't worry, I'll pay you 30% above your cost. That's where this cost plus pricing assume lot of importance, right? It has been there for some time, but it became sort of an industrial scale, right? Big businesses started working on that, defense manufacturers, right? Very big scale. All kind of defense businesses are in general big scale businesses, right? They might in turn contract out to some people who are small businesses, but generally the guys who are fronting it. Which names you know in India, for example, defense manufacturers? Any idea who the defense manufacturers typically involved in big contracts in India? Who? Yeah. Reliance, right? L&T, Reliance, right? Tata's. These are the names that we hear, right? Essentially big names, correct? But now those big businesses, with them this became very popular strategy. Otherwise they don't work on cost plus, right? Does L&T work on cost plus normally or Tata's work on? No. But when it comes to defense, still there is a certain amount of cost plus hangover which is there, and I think it will stay for quite some time. Right? There are variations of cost. Any thoughts on this? Do you think this is a good strategy? Cost plus strategy is a good strategy. You would like to adopt in your business?
To penetrate the market, I guess yes.
Okay, all right.
It's a safe strategy actually.
Sorry?
It's a safe strategy.
Safe strategy. Okay, but the customer should be willing to pay. No?
Yeah.
I'll say I produce this clicker at 500 rupees. Give me 600. You say no, I'm getting at 400 in the market. I don't care. I mean, your cost is your problem, correct?
But not a practical strategy in today's world. When the
It may not be
competition is so
practical, right?
fierce.
Correct. So it depends, right? You might sort of be conscious that you have to recover your cost, right? But you may not follow cost. Plus, in the marketplace when there is a competition, it hardly has any significance, right? You cannot broadly use it in the market when you are facing competition. In case of those kind of defense purchase scenarios, there is less competition, right? There is less competition and the demand is urgent. It has to be fulfilled at any cost, right? So that's why these are popular in those markets. But in a competitive market, customers simply don't care what is your cost of production, right? They will pay as per value that they receive or what they perceive to be, and we'll talk about value-based strategy separately. There are variations of this that are quite dominant. Effort-based strategy. For example, have you heard about this effort-based strategy? Time and material billing, T&M. Where have you heard this? T&M billing. T&M. You heard of this strategy? Effort-based. Specifically in the IT services context, one of the big drivers of change in India has been our IT outsourcing business, right? So since 1990s, that has grown fantastically and provided jobs to people like you and me, right? Most of the educated segment is getting employed in IT, banking, and these kind of sectors, right? So they followed this effort-based pricing strategy or time and material-based selling of services for fairly long period of time, almost 20 years, and the entire industry was built on that, right? Billions and billions of dollars of industry, employing lakhs and lakhs of now millions of people, is built using this particular strategy, which is also a nature of cost plus strategy, right? So I have my resources, I have a resource pyramid. If I am delivering to the customer, I need a delivery manager. You call him something like delivery manager. I have group project manager, I have project managers, I have team leads, I have senior developers, I have testers, right? And I attach a certain element of cost to them. As you know, tester, junior tester cost something like so much, maybe $8 per hour, right? So I have to bill the customer, after taking into account my overheads at least $11 to $12 an hour, right? A DM cost me maybe let's say $40 an hour. So I have to bill at least $50 or $60 an hour, right? That's again a cost-based pricing strategy, because the way it started working is most of the companies which were competing at that point in time, like Tata, SCL, they had switch companies, right? Satyam, Wipro, I is Infosys, right? T is Tata's, C was Cognizant, and H was SCL, right? Switch. So there was not a big differentiator between them. They were differentiating with respect to the other players, foreign players, right? But between them there was not much differentiation. So how do you differentiate? You ultimately went back to cost. When there is no differentiation, you might want to put cost into play, right? So you want to control your cost, and that's why everybody was very cautious that I have to manage my cost very well. So they had this matrix, pyramid structure which was there. They had to manage the pyramid very well. In a 100 people team, you need so many people at the junior level because their costs are less, right? And based on that, ultimately, you are charging to the customer time and effort, time and material, or effort-based billing, right? At the end of the month, your PM goes and gets the signature from somebody on the client side, and then you bill on the basis of that. And then in the contract, we have this defined, you'll pay so much for, let's say, a project manager, whatever, $20 per hour for the project manager, and that's how you bill. So again, very good strategy, but after a point in time, as the differentiation increased, right, people started bidding for projects, fixed price projects, for example, right, the next one, then this strategy lost a little bit of a relevance. But it continued to play to some degree, because between the evolution from purely effort based to fixed price, there was something called a T&M with cap, right? So you are capping your billing to a certain extent, saying we will not bill you more than $1.2 million per month, right, for this, but we might go somewhere up to that, right? So basis is T&M again, but it is with a cap so that customer is assured, I am not going to hit by a higher bill and my budget is not going to go out of whack, right? So that's what they did. Another important thing that happened is there is something called marginal pricing, and marginal pricing still has a lot of significance, right? So what is marginal cost? You understand the concept of what is marginal cost? Last unit, right? How do you assess that? So it's additional unit of production, right? So I produce 100 such TVs, and what is the cost of producing the 101st TV, right? So what is that cost typically? As an example, let's take an example of a restaurant, right? We go to a restaurant. So what is the marginal cost of production in a restaurant? What are the different costs that are a part of this? Yeah, so what are those costs? I'm just taking a common example which we know, right? So what are the costs that get into variable costs in a restaurant? Material, right? So all that food items that get into the groceries and everything. Yeah, what else? Gas, right? The ones which are, so all kitchen costs are by and large, variable costs, all, So cost of chef, right? But chef is there regardless of whether you sell 10 masala dosas or 20, right? But still, you can directly attribute them to the production, right? So you can, to a certain extent, bifurcate them into fixed and variable costs, right? So all those become your variable costs. Now, if you look at how China, captured a lot of marketplace in many respects, right? So this something called dumping. Have you heard of this one? Not dumpling when I'm talking about Chinese, not Chinese food. DUMPING. What is dumping? Yeah, so you in other geographies, typically strategy used in the international context, right? You dump your goods at a very low price in the international market, and it is a marginal pricing strategy, right? How it works? This cost, volume, and profit relationship, I think in costing that must have been explained to you. Fixed cost, variable cost, right? Semi-fixed or semi-variable cost, and you need to recover all of them, and you need to do something called break-even price, right? You need to attain. Now, once you want to reach your break-even point, marginal pricing comes very handy, right? For that, you are going to price your services or goods at anything above your variable cost, because at least something you are extracting from the customer and putting it towards recovery of your fixed cost. So every additional unit that you sell about your marginal cost is actually contributing towards the recovery of your fixed cost and moving you towards your break-even point, right? So this is used exhaustively. This is something that is used exhaustively in many industries even today, in competitive industries. Can you give me examples of industries that could be using marginal pricing? These are typically the industries that have higher fixed costs. They have to somehow recover their fixed costs. Okay. Which other do you think must be using marginal pricing? Okay. They have a little bit different pricing at least in slab based, right? So that's a little bit different. Okay. The ones where this is used very frequently are the industries, very highly competitive industries like
amusement parks.
Amusement parks, okay.
They have the fixed cost and after that they will be.
But how do they use marginal pricing?
So they have their own fixed costs, which is heavy infrastructure, and after that.
But how do they use that? I understood. You are saying correctly, but how do they use that marginal pricing?
Pricing of the tickets.
How? You are correct. You can develop more on that. So on days, let's say on Monday you have very low price, correct? You have to keep a lot of things running there. You can't just ask the staff to go after the weekend, correct? And when on weekend you have 1,000 people visiting, and next day you have hardly 100 people coming there, correct? You use marginal pricing. You have very highly discounted, low rates, because museums use that, right? Museums use that. The zoos use that. Zoo uses that, right? So you have a different rate on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because a lot of people come there. But on Monday you want to attract some people, so you put a lower price on that day, right? So example is correct, but how they use it is on the days when they don't have any kind of footfalls, they lower their pricing. Two industries that I can immediately think of that have sort of developed this into a science are airlines and hospitality, right? Airlines, and both of these today use something called dynamic pricing, right? Literally dynamic pricing, and there are very highly specialized IT systems and solutions developed for dynamic pricing. I think you should try it out somewhere. What you should do is maybe, let's say you are going to Goa somewhere in December, maybe not, forget December holidays, the Christmas holidays, everything is maxed out, but let's say first week of December. I think all of you should go and maybe try out somewhere, any of these tourist places, go and in one of the travel websites you put some price, right? And after 5 minutes you try to some other website, clear your browser cache, okay, do that. You will see that the price keeps changing, right? Try same thing with airlines. Because in the back end, there are engines that are taking all these inputs, and on certain logic that they have developed, they are using something called dynamic pricing, right? They say, this guy is trying to put 3 tickets, Pune to Delhi on this particular day. Now, they don't know whether it's exactly me, right? I could be even hiding my proxy by using, hiding my proxy as well. So they don't know who's coming, and I'm going through various, ticketing agents, correct? We make my team out. But and in the back end, they are looking at this, trying to develop some kind of patterns, and they are accordingly playing with the price. The reason they do that is, in hotel, for example, in the hospitality industry, if you don't sell a room night, right, it is gone forever, right? When somebody asks us an example of a perishable product, we'll think of tomatoes, right? First, correct? Apples, but hotel rooms are perishable product. They are very highly perishable. Very, very highly perishable. By 8 o'clock in the evening, you don't have a customer, gone forever. You can never recover that hotel room, right? You cannot ever charge the customer when he doesn't stay there. So they have to use marginal pricing, right? So they will incentivize people who come and stay there because they know all my costs are anyway going to be there. The air conditioning is going to be there, just few costs will change. Of course, they don't have to change the linen next day, right? So those things will remain. I'm not saying, but these are probably a fragment of the cost, maybe 2%, 3% cost. Rest 97% costs are committed, they are gone. The customer doesn't come, it's gone, right? So I have benefited earlier from this. So as you travel very frequently, this is around 1990s, maybe between Mumbai, Pune, and Chennai, very, very less flights at that time, of course, right? But I used to many times travel last moment, right? I remember from Chennai I was coming to Pune once, and I landed up at the, not that I planned it, landed up at the last moment. They had they didn't have the normal tickets, so they put me up to business class, but at the same price, or lower price than the normal tickets, right? So that's what they did, right? What Shailendra calls that cattle class, right? And I was like, I enjoyed everything, premium services, etc. because they didn't want that seat to go vacant, right? That seat, let's say, normally costs 6,000, so I'm not willing to pay for that. I'll go by maybe some other flight. And then maybe they sold it to me at 2,000, but they made that 2,000. Otherwise, their aviation fuel was gone. Everybody there, steward, everybody is in the flight. They are paid for the landing rights. Correct? Everything is done. Their plane is going to get depreciation. They are not going to save a single paisa by not letting me into that flight. So even if they sell me that business class seat at 1/3 the price, still it is better for them. So there are industries that are using marginal pricing very, very exhaustively, and they are using it very kind of dynamic pricing is what they are using. So dynamic pricing is very, very much linked to marginal pricing, right? When you look at it, what is being done is that price is tagged to your fixed cost recovery, right? That is the key goal of dynamic pricing. So these cost-based pricing strategies, sound outdated, etc., but they are very much in play, right? In some of the industries, right? In some industries, they have lost their relevance. For example, when I go and buy this shirt, I'm not much bothering about cost, right? I'm looking more at brand, color, variety, my shopping experience. So not that in every industry it is there, but yes, there are industries where this is extremely important. So don't lose sight on cost-based pricing because they are legacy strategies. Yeah, there are legacy strategies which continue to have lot of play today also. Any ideas on this? Any other cost-based strategy that you have seen? Where you are linking your price to cost. Anywhere?
ग्रीन करो उसको, ग्रीन छोड़ो ना उसको, दबा के छोड़ो एक बार। यस
Oh, okay. Even in the hospitality industry, when you're booking a hotel room on certain days, like especially during the weekdays, it's relatively cheaper than the weekends.
Yes.
And you would have noticed during COVID, because there had a 50%
Correct.
occupancy rate. So even in that, the rooms were either expensive, either they were very expensive or they were very cheap. There was no like middle ground at that point.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. One more industry, I don't like saying this, which uses this pricing strategy. Can you think of one more industry? Because since you mentioned COVID,
Which industry?
healthcare.
Okay, yeah.
They will not let you go out of ICU, unless they find some other patient if you are on that bed. Correct? Have you experienced this?
Yes.
ICU में से छोड़ेंगे नहीं आप. They have to bill that much. Correct? Because corporate hospitals, there are people like me working there, right? And I hate saying this, there are finance guys working there. Correct? बस पैसा होना चाहिए, right? You have to recover so much. So ICU is maximum billing. Right? And I've had this experience in personal life also, right? Whenever like ICS can be removed one time. Because they know this is a big sentimental decision. Your mother is there in ICU. They are playing around with your emotions. Saying, I think it's better to keep her in the ICU. Right? And you can't say you don't keep her. The decisions are being taken by people who are very closely attached to the patient. And then they will not let you out of ICU unless they find some patient to fill up that bed, right? So not a good example, I don't like this, but this is being done, and we have seen this many times, right? And you experience this. Right? So not bad usage of marginal pricing strategy, but is there, right? So, right. Then competition-based pricing strategy, right? So this is also when I have classified this, I have more put them under this bucket. So traditional. Part of traditional and the marginal pricing I have put under innovative. Though it is traditional also, with dynamic pricing, etc., is being used very innovatively today in the marketplace, right? You can actually build models to understand, and I have some examples of model in Excel, how you using marginal pricing you can improve your overall profitability. For example, hospitality industry, right? So I have put some models around that by using this goal, seek, etc. functions in Excel. Now. If you look at the competition-based pricing, they broadly have classified them into sales-driven, right? So sales-driven strategies came into play more after, I'll say more after 50s, the 1950s, right? In the Western countries, where after the World War, etc., there was like a certain degree of stability, right? Different goods started coming, right? So we call that Gen X or Z or whatever it is, right? So, and they had more prosperity, correct? This buying of automobiles, clothes, etc. That was all on the rise, right? 50s, 60s, 70s. So that time. So during that time, slowly as the businesses started becoming competitive, there was a need for sales-driven or competitive pricing strategies. Yeah. So I think so that's a little different perspective that I have. So see, earlier Twitter used to give you that blue tick, based on certain recommendations, etc., right? Which in my opinion is not a good policy. Why I am saying? See, money is a great equalizer. This sounds bad, right? Money is a great, sounds like, it's a very villainous kind of person, bad person, right? But actually, money puts us on a level playing field. I got 10 rupees, I got 10 rupees, right? Now somebody who hasn't got 10 rupees, he's getting left out, right? So I'm not saying that it's a complete equalizer, but earlier I had absolutely no way of getting, verified by Twitter if I had a certain whatever. I mean, if I fell into certain category, as far as Twitter verification team was concerned. Now I have $8. I can give you my Aadhaar card or whatever they demand. I can get. So what I think trying to do is trying to incentivize people who want to prove their authenticity on the social media to give that option, number one. And I think he has done a lot of firing, etc. Maybe he is doing that to cover his fixed cost also. So I haven't studied that much, so maybe it is correct also. But what he's doing, but that's a good idea. Let me just a little bit think about it. Yeah. But he is now, see, one of the important things is get the money from your customers. So there are two kinds of businesses, right? Three kinds of businesses. One is government, right? You have the absolute right to lay taxes on people, right? and then you sort of serve the people, right? So you have no connection between beneficiaries and contributors, right? Even if I don't get anything for paying taxes, I have absolutely nothing that I can do. Same goes for NGOs, non-government organizations, right? Their customers or beneficiaries are different and their funding partners are different, correct? Let's say I am running an NGO which takes care of dogs on the road, right? So stray dogs, there are NGOs which take care of that. Are stray dogs going to pay for anything that they get? No. Somebody else is paying for that. So beneficiary and the funder, they are dealing, right? In case of NGO. Business, where most of you guys presumably will get into, is where one good thing is your customer pays for what he or she gets. And that is, I think, one of the best models to have. Right? I'm not criticizing others. The reason government is inefficient because there's no linkage between beneficiary and the taxes, correct? So your customer will not pay. If you don't give him the quality, you don't give him the service, simply go to somebody else, right? So that is what he's trying to do. His customer is going to pay him now and not the advertiser. So the significance of advertisers will go a little bit down depending on the numbers. Again, I don't know the numbers. If only 1 million people, that $80 million may not be very high thing for him, right? So I don't know how exactly it is going to happen, but he's trying to get some money from the customers. And who are his customers? Users are his primary customers, right? And then advertising guys are the secondary customers. But they fund most of the business today, and he's probably trying to shift that model a little bit, right? And just sort of change it. It will change everything. He can say, no, I have so many verified handles, so many serious people on Twitter, now you pay me more for advertisement, right? And I will show you advertisement to these guys, I am going to charge you more. Right? They are already my paying customers, correct? Somebody is paying you $8, he has the purchasing capacity. For showing your advertisement to these guys, I am going to charge you X, and for others I will charge you half X. Right? Maybe he has a lot of thoughts behind that. He is a very shrewd business person. So competition-based pricing strategies started evolving as well as more and more competition. As more and more goods and services, their versions, quality, all that became very big. Cars, for example, right? Cars, selling car is highly competitive kind of a scenario. Typically, if you want to buy a car, you will go into at least 2-3 showrooms of the same manufacturer, right? I want to buy, let's say, a Suzuki car or Toyota car or whatever. I will not visit even a single showroom. And first thing is I might go to look at different brands. Then slowly I will zero on particular brand. Then in that particular brand I will go to at least 2 or 3 showrooms. This is what I have done last year when I bought the car. Right? So when I bought a Toyota, I went to 3 different showrooms, and the one which is very close to this one, that's where I bought from. Right? So it's a very competitive scenario. So that is where all these competition-based pricing strategies started coming into play, and that is why salespeople, there are sales-driven strategies. Salespersons, most of his remuneration is linked to incentives, right? Most companies will have, let's say, 40% to 60% of their fixed remuneration to the salespeople, and rest 60 to 40% will be based on the sales or the revenue generated, correct? Within that, you might have particular type of revenue that you prefer. For example, in IT services, I remember when I was with Dell, we had higher percentage of commissions for people who got a new logo, right? So when we, for example, back Barclays in UK as our client, right, our sales guys used to get higher commission because Barclays was not our client, right? So it was going to land and expand strategy, right? You land there in Barclays and slowly you sell more and more. So even that sales commission could be different. You are selling $10 million to X customer, you might get more than selling $10 million to Y customer. So all these evolved because sales guys had to be incentivized, and we had a very competitive kind of a marketplace, right? That is the fundamental reason all this basically came about. There are multiple competition-based pricing strategies. Just some of them I have mentioned over here, right? But you cannot ever ignore the competition, as I said earlier, right? So competition is there. You have to always take into account, and you have to differentiate yourself. And you see many examples. For example, how many of you are here from Pune, or you have eaten in many restaurants around Pune, right? So you see, for example, some of the restaurants have priced themselves higher. Right? And I'm talking of the common food. I'm not talking of mainland China or or something like that, right? So I'm talking of, let's say, those who are selling vada pav, dosa, those kind of products, right? But somebody like Vadeshwar, their price is slightly higher, right? Or Vaishali, but still people will go there, right? So you have to understand your competitor very well, because it is the same product you are selling. It is very difficult to differentiate the product. Of course, I'm not saying they don't have good quality. No, but you have to be very well aware about the competition which is there in that particular place. So these strategies are like introductory strategy, introductory price, right? Many times companies are very open about it. we are introducing this particular product, right? Maybe in this market, right? Let's say it's a Chennai-based company, and they are introducing that product in Pune. Their salespeople can be very open about it. We want to capture the market over here, right? So this is the introductory price that we have running for the month of November and December, right? 31st December is the date. You want this price, you have to buy it before that particular date. Now, this is a big incentive for the customer to take the decision. See, what you want to do when you are selling to the customer as a salesperson is, you want the customer to take the decision ASAP, right? The faster the customer takes the decision, the money is with you, and your commissions are also there with you, right? So, this is a very great incentive for customers to take decisions. You are advancing customers' buying decision, right? By saying, we are selling this, let's say whatever the price is, these are trade chairs that we have, right? These are, of course, the other things have to be convinced. The quality, etc., has to be taken care of. Till 31st of December, this chair is available at 6,000 rupees. Thereafter, the price is going to be 9,000 rupees, right? Very clear statement. As long as you stick to that 31st of December, sometimes you see that getting extended infinitely, right? It's like Amazon and Flipkart sale, right? Is there all throughout the year. So then after some point, people will realize, they'll not buy at that particular point in time. They'll say after a month again, there's going to be a discount offer, so I'll buy at that time. Otherwise, this is a very good decision for you to advance the strategy to advance the customer's decision making process, right? So you can bring in earlier, and pricing has impact on a lot of things, right? It has impact on sales, right? Which means that you will get your sales faster. If you are still profitably priced, your profitability will be higher, and third thing is the cash. Your cash flows will come in sooner, right? Because as one of my profs at IMB, Professor Sundar Rajan, he used to say this. I don't know who exactly said this earlier. The sales is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality, right? Higher sales is a vanity factor. You feel good, my company is growing. But if you don't have profits, what is the point? Right? The profit will bring down to the sanity level. Are you really making profit? And cash is reality. End of the day, what you have is cash. And that's why many people, when they are at senior levels, when they take any business decisions, they look at cash flows. Decisions are taken based on the cash flow analysis, right? And even valuations are done based on discounted cash flow as an example, right? So this introductory price offer will help you get all these things, right? Higher sales, presumably higher profit, unless you are selling at below your marginal cost, then it's a different ballgame. Normally, good companies will not sell below marginal cost, right? And then also getting the cash flows ASAP, right? This is a very good strategy to adopt, but you have to be very cautious. You cannot let it be extended infinitely, otherwise people will lose faith in it, right? They will not be under that pressure to take the buying decision then. Right? These guys will come and they will always say it's an introductory strategy, shuri rehta hai, and which has happened in many products, right? We know, like if you go to some of the fashion retailers where they sell multiple brands, all throughout the year there is a sale, correct? Kabhi bhi jao, you will see that, right? That I saw this big time in Singapore when I went there about 25 years back. So initially, me and my wife, when we used to go there, we used to feel a little different, the malls, etc. But okay, this is like $20 UP, right? Usual price, and $10 sales price, right? After a month or two, we realized it's there in all the cases, right? Every mall, every product, it has this kind of tag. Then we said, and that pressure on us to take the decision was gone, right? So, but to use it very, very judicially. There is another one which is follow the leader, right? And it looks similar, but it is different. In what sense it could be different? Follow the leader pricing strategy. Can you think of a product where follow the leader pricing strategy is being followed in India? Any industry where you have seen this?
Telecom.
Which one?
Telecom industry.
Telecom, yes. But they are not able to follow the leader, but they are trying to follow the leader. Yes. Which is the leader today? Jio, right? So Jio, entirely they crushed other players. One of the reasons being the earlier, other players were there. They had very high pricing, right? And secondly, the congestion, right? Mainly the calls didn't go through, right? As simple as that. Data didn't come through. And that was one of the pain points that people had. And then when they came in, everybody had to rationalize their price. They were left with no option. And Reliance came down with, I think, prices that were crazy, right? Earlier we used to get at, I think, 150 per month. That comes to how much? 1800 or something, right? And less than that. And earlier offers, 1500 you got the full year with data and everything, right? And very long call durations also. So everybody had to follow the leader. There are absolutely no other option. Because how do you differentiate? See, by and large, telecom has become a commoditized product. How do you differentiate? And I think I can't spend so much time, but still I can tell you how they differentiate, right? There are ways of differentiating, but it's a highly commoditized product, right? As long as I get my data, as long as I can make phone calls, I get SMSs, done, right? But if the leader, there's somebody who comes in and sets a price, and he is a leader, in that case you are forced to follow the leader. Follow the leader generally doesn't have a choice. It's not an out of choice you are following the leader, correct? There's one example here. There is, I always forget, this is Malpani. There is a brand here which sells, that, I'm sorry about it, I always forget the name.
Khari.
Tea, you get that Khari or something,
Khari.
right? And then Budhani wafers, right? Wafers. So there are certain product categories where particular brand, dominates and they literally set the price. It is very difficult for you in that market, not follow the leader. Because, that product is available everywhere. They have set up everything behind that, logistics, they are making good quality available, right? And you have to follow the leader. That's why, if you go to buy wafers, by and large, either you will find unbranded or, some such stuff, but bigger brands, are not there in Pune in that place, right? Because Budhani has, virtually sort of done everything that they can do, right? And they are the leaders in the marketplace. Either you have to follow the leader in terms of all the policies, pricing, etc., or, you cannot sell in that particular market. So it's different, it's not introductory, it's a different kind of a strategy. And then there's something called a penetration. Yeah, I think we can take a break now. So maybe we can take a 5-7 minute break and then we can, right? So we'll continue with this.
Sir?
Okay,
Sir?
so let's sign up, right? And Rona, you can quickly set
Done.
Done?
Yes.
Okay. So let's be back 5:11. Then we can continue.
So you said sales is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality. Okay, thank you.
And let's be back 5 past.
Ronak?
पूरा black पूरा black
For their second year. So it's really impossible to stop them from speaking to each other. Because first year they have been virtual. So all of them think अभी हम लोग को एक दूसरे के साथ एक ही साल मिलने वाला है, right? So they talk so much in the class. मुझे भेजना पड़ता है किसी को उठा के बाहर example set करने. Yeah, all right. So we'll move on. So we are discussing competition-based strategies, and I think we looked at introductory and follow leader. There's also the penetration strategy, right? So what does it show you? I mean, can you give me examples of this particular strategy?
FMCG.
Mike.
Okay. Get hooked onto it, right? So, yeah, like the drug peddlers probably, they give drugs, at lower price to people, and once you get hooked onto drugs, you will pay anything, right? So not a bad, not a good analogy, but yeah.
So even Xiaomi, when it first entered the Indian market, the Xiaomi phones were really cheap, so a lot of people started buying those.
Yeah, sure.
And then like Samsung and all these other companies also had to either reduce their prices or launch phones or models
Correct.
which were cheaper.
That is a very good example, actually. They're the cheapest in the market, yeah.
So Jio itself
Yes, sir.
started as a penetration.
Yes, here's a good example of that as well. Correct. Which one? Netflix also. Netflix has now reduced prices more, right? So that strategy didn't work actually. It's an example of where they had a price that even didn't work, right? But that's okay. I think the one that you gave, YouTube, etc., as an example, that's more innovative, so I have put it in value-based. Yeah, so that's a little different. That's little bit different from penetration strategy, right? But these are good examples, Jio coming in and giving it at a very less amount, so people have the incentive to come and experience it, right? This is very well used strategy. I think in many marketplaces this is being used in many commodities, in many products. This strategy is used. You will have seen the restaurants also offering. See, many restaurants. Like I have been to some restaurants more frequently with family, etc. And we have found after a year or two, family, whatever we are spending, 3 times we start spending, right? So slowly what they do is they up the prices without you realizing so much also, right? Because they are new to that particular locality. It's a very locality based business, right? Typically people will travel to some distance for a restaurant, but not too much, right? Within certain 80% of your customers will be, let's say, within 5 kilometers or so, right? So you do this introductory pricing and sort of penetration pricing, get people in, and then you sort of increase your price. This is also a pricing strategy which is the competition based, right? Your prices have to be benchmarked with the competition. You have to set a lower price initially, right? And you get the customers in, and you slowly increase the price, right? And this is done for many things. You want to enter a particular product category. Also, you can do that. You already have a brand established. Let's say you are a mobile phone brand, and now you want to go into headsets, right? You want to extend like this not fast track, which is this goggle, etc. These sunglasses, etc. Which is this kind of fast track, right? Slowly they expanded the product category like that, so that they used to have lower prices for those products initially, and then they will go up to a certain kind of a benchmark. Right? So extension of product category also you can use penetration pricing, because you are known for something, people have reasonable confidence that you can produce something of a reasonable quality. Now it's something you penetrate with a lesser price, and slowly you again come back to the price that you want. Right? So that is it. In competition-based pricing, auction is something which has its own significance. Right? So now this is being used, let's say, by even Government of India. The GEM portal. You heard of it? So Government of India does a lot of buying through a portal where the auctions are conducted. Right? And people from remote areas are now able to sell small things, small articles to government, because this is happening through an auction, and they are cutting off the middleman. I can directly compete. Let's say government is buying some caps. I'm just giving an example, right? Caps they are buying. Now the producer can directly register himself on that portal, and he can participate in the auction. The middleman will have his own margin added on top of that, so he can directly win the contract, right? So to that extent, it has gone down, auction. And you would have seen, what is your experience of how auctions are conducted? What have you seen? Typically in movies, right? Any of you has gone to the auction actually? No, right? I think very rare. I have been to some of the places, but how is it typically conducted? What is the method of conducting an auction? Correct. And then also there is a reserve price at times which is different from base price. So you want to set bids below that. Correct? So you encourage people, this is an open environment, right, in most of the cases. And this has been implemented in e-commerce also, which one where a lot of auctions get held. You see many portals where this auctions method is followed? No, on the portals, like Amazon or something. eBay, right? So eBay conducts these auctions. So the thing is, once the auction starts, it's for a limited period of time, and they will show you the other bids, right? So slowly you will start. Now let's say they are selling something which I would be normally willing to pay $1,000 for, right? I see the auction is happening, and then the price is going up, right? And towards the end, and there are people who actually, sort of study this very, very well, and they have written articles on how actually you end up paying a lot more if you participate in an auction, right? Because the seller also knows how to conduct that. I know somebody here in Pune who's, I think, has a family business of cars and car dealerships and also used cars. So he has set up a portal for used cars auction, right? So that auction opens up every week for 45 minutes or so, right? And then you have to put in some money upfront, etc. You can buy the used cars also by doing that. So this has moved into sort of tech segment and the e-commerce kind of environment also now. But traditionally the auctions are being conducted in a place where you encourage people to bid at higher price, right? So we see in Bond movies and every movie, they are just bidding at some astronomical price, and ultimately there is something called a winner's curse, right? In auction, sometimes the winner is a cursed winner. You end up paying too much. Auction is also implemented in case of things like how do you buy treasury bonds, right? In India, for example, government securities are auctioned. RBI conducts every third Thursday auction of treasury bills. First and third Thursday, 10 o'clock in the morning, the portal opens up. And only these primary dealers and banks are allowed to participate in that. Now, retailers can also participate through these dealers, right? So, the treasury bills, for example, 91-day treasury bills of 100 rupees each, they are sold through auction. So, these banks will bid, I want to buy this bill at, let's say, 99.20 rupees, right? Or 98.75 rupees. And whoever gives the best price, of course, the securities are allocated to them. So even they are using that. And then there are places where the reverse auction is also done. There are multiple types of auction. There is something called Dutch auction, right? Which is there, which is in Netherlands. What is Netherlands known for? Yeah, so flowers, right? Secondly is the diamond and gold, right? They are known for that. So this flowers auction it is done in a different way, right? Not the way, that I will bring flowers there and the buyers are bidding or something like that. It's the other way around. The sellers will bid. So, I want to sell maybe tulips, this, and I think they may be selling in tons, etc., right? This 1 ton tulip of this particular quality, I'm willing to sell at this price, right? So it's the other way around. The sellers are bidding in that particular auction, and obviously, whoever is quoting the lowest price, he ends up making the sale. Yeah.
Can we say that it's a tender? They are quoting their price to sell the product.
Yeah, so tender is little different in a sense, yes, correct. Tender also by and large works on the basis of the seller quoting the lowest price, but tender is usually not open, right? So I don't know what somebody else is selling. In the auction environment, typically you know, right, what the others are quoting, and that's an incentive for you to change your quote. So auction incentivizes one party to adjust their prices. In tender, typically you are not supposed to know. Of course, there are ways of knowing it. That's a different thing. But in tender, you don't know, what other party is quoting. So that's a little different. And secondly, tenders are typically for B2B, right? So B2B kind of a business. Auctions are also for B2B business. But in tenders case, there are multiple criteria, from only price, right? So there is what we call, L1, T1, and like that, right? So lowest bidder and technologically one which is superior, right? So the other criteria typically in the tendering process. That's why it's not done by an open auction. You need to study those bids, and there is more application of mind required. Whereas auction is done typically for products that can be seen, and you can sort of set the price and you can deliver easily, right? As I said, these flowers are there, and I can deliver those, right? So that's why they are used in those cases. So this is also one of the very popular strategies, and I think people who specialize in this, for example, the auctioneers, if you go to Sotheby's, etc., on their websites you will find the people who are auctioneers, right? So they need to know, for example, a particular type of art, they need to know very well, to study all that, right? And they are also trained in terms of how to auction it, right? Because in that particular case, they are being the salesperson, right? And their performance is assessed based on that. How much above sale reserve price you are selling, etc. Then performance assessment is done based on that, right? So some of these guys make fantastic, money because they are very good at, creating that interest. Even the way they talk, for example, when they put up the offer, right? It's a very dramatic performance that they put in because their entire performance is or incentives, etc., driven by that. So there are more competition-based strategies also, but I think essentially this should be okay. Anything else you have heard in terms of competition-based strategy you have seen? Do you remember?
I came through strategy which I don't know where to put in terms of penetration. One is loss leadership strategy.
Okay.
And one is decoy effect.
माइक यूज करो प्लीज
Yeah.
Should I repeat?
Yeah, repeat it.
No, I can hear. So he is talking about two, loss leadership strategy, right? Which is one of the cost-based strategies, and the second is decoy effect is what he is talking about, right? So let me just quickly explain what my understanding of those are. So loss leader is particularly you have certain products on which you are willing to take the loss to acquire the customer, right? And I have seen this example in the food segment quite a lot, right? So in Pune, for example, certain restaurants are known for something, right? One of their products will be priced less, cheaply, right? They may not be exactly making losses, but they may not be making much profit, right? Let's say their usual profit margin is 30%, they will make maybe 5 or 10% on that. Doesn't have to be exactly loss, maybe it is loss of profit also in some of the cases. And then customer comes in because of that, and then you try to sell them more, right? Example of this where the company is not making losses, okay, it's not a loss leadership strategy, but it's essentially a strategy to bring the customer in first, right? Once he comes, then you sell him more. Raymond's, right? And Raymond's is a different example. Again, they are not making losses on this. Raymond's in the last 20-30 years since they started, they started positioning themselves as, it's meant for men, right? So look at the guts index, they are excluding women who are big buyers, right? So 50% market chala gaya, but they are okay with it, right? And then they started positioning themselves as, the suits, right? And in India, 30 years back, no suit right? I purchased at the time of my marriage, and as it happens, after 6 months, it was not fitting me, right? I had grown quite a lot, what typically happens. And then maybe I bought after 2-3 years, when I went to UK and all that, right? So it was a very, very event-driven kind of thing, right? That's why all their advertisements, etc., initially used to be around the marriage ceremony and something like that. So they have still stayed with that as the main value proposition, right? Suits. But now you walk into a Raymond's shop, you'll end up probably not buying a suit, but there are handkerchiefs, there are cufflinks, there are belts, there are everything is there, right? All kind of men's accessories are there, and all of them are priced very very high, right? Typically, a wallet that I will buy there, I will pay 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees, right? So that's a very highly priced kind of a product from the Indian point of view, correct? So they have not exactly lost it out, but that is a strategy to get in the customers, right? Value proposition, suits, right? And once you get all the t-shirts and everything is available, right? So they will sell you all this. Loss ratio is basically a sort of strategy to get the customer in, maybe also incur a loss on those products, right? Ultimately end up making more profit on the entire deal. And पूरे deal में हमारा profit अच्छा हो रहा है, but on that particular item we are making losses or we are making less profits. And that's how I look at it. Loss ratio cannot be sustained in the long run because if you continue to make losses on particular product, the customer just keeps buying that particular product, you will go bankrupt, right? You have to have the ability to sell more products to the customer and recover that loss out of that. So maybe taking less margin is okay for some products to get the customer in, right? So that is one thing. Decoy effect is something which is different. So decoy effect is somewhere you have a product which is a decoy, right? You really don't want the customer to buy that, right? Is there just as a decoy. Decoy is what something is there, and it feels like, for example, you put up a decoy for to let's say capture a man-eater tiger, right? So you put up some decoy over there, and the tiger will come and it will trap you, right? So decoy is meant to trap you. If you let's say go typical this example of the popcorn in a movie theater, right? Costs a lot, and somehow in our mind the popcorn are associated with movies, correct? With a lot of advertisement and everything, correct? It is associated with movies. So when you go there, typically you will find certain sizes, right? And decoy effect and also priming, etc. are used, very much in that particular case. What you do is, maybe you have a very high, sort of big that packet over there, correct? There's a middle size and there's a small size. That big one or the middle one, depending on how they price it, could be a decoy. They are not really interested in selling that to you. So you end up buying the other one which looks much better by comparison. In case of cars, typically the most high-end version of the car is a decoy, right? So when I said I bought a car last year, their prices were something like 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs, 14 lakhs, something like that, right? Now between the high-end version, 14 lakhs and 12 lakhs, you will go and compare feature by feature, right? And they give actually detailed feature by feature comparison. I found that the high-end version and the middle version, what I was not getting was entirely superficial. Things like follow-on headlights. Follow-on headlights is, you walk into a show, you come out and after you sort of shut down the car engine, 10 or 20 seconds the headlights will be there. They say that, sometimes you are getting into a garage, the lights are not there, right? You need this. Who really needs this thing? Correct? Then there are automatic wipers. When the rain starts, the wipers will start automatically. I mean, I can see, right? I'm supposed to be able to see if I'm driving a car, right? Why do I need automatic wipers? I can just start the wipers. It's not like I have to go somewhere and start the wipers. So most of the times in the high-end version and the middle one, and you will see this in many cars, the difference is highly superficial. But now that they have set the anchor, this is used with anchoring, right? Decoy and anchoring are, sort of go hand in hand. They have set the anchors at 14 and a half lakhs. Now this 12 lakhs, 12.5 lakhs model looks good to me. Right? And there is a huge difference between 10 lakhs and 12.5 lakhs. That difference is really huge, right? It's very tangible difference. There is intangible, superficial difference between 15 lakhs and 12.5 lakhs. So that 15 lakhs model is a decoy. You really don't know, you don't produce that also much, right? Uska zyada inventory bhi nahi rehta. There's only one or two cars in the showroom or somewhere because they know nobody is going to buy this. Is there a decoy for you to buy that 12.5 lakh rupees of car? Because the moment you give choice to the customer, you don't want to give too much choice, and you want him to restrict the comparison to only your products, right? So by giving that 15 to 10 lakhs range, what you are doing is you are not suddenly comparing Toyota to something else. Already you have got into a situation where you are comparing only 3 models of the versions of the same car, right? So your decision making, they are bringing in you in and now captivating you and showing you that decoy. Then okay, for 2.5 lakhs, this is 2.5 lakh rupees less. Okay, let me buy this. Right? So decoy is a very important concept. Decoy is a very innovative strategy. So I cover it normally under innovative pricing strategies. Now I saw that last one which was there. It's a very highly innovative strategy. And also the anchoring also. Anchoring is also very innovative. Here the example I gave, they are using both anchoring and decoy, right? They are setting the anchor at 15 lakhs So anything below 15 lakhs starts looking good to me, right? And then they don't want to sell 15 lakhs, they want to sell the 12.5 lakhs, right? Not 10 lakhs. Because if you look at the structure of their costs, right? 10 lakhs doesn't make much margin. 12.5 lakhs I am getting a lot, but still their margins are high. Right? So that's how they are structured. Alright. So these are some of the value-based strategies. I think you gave the example of YouTube 1 month free, right? That's more of value-based also strategy, innovative strategy. Where you are very confident about the value delivered to the customer, right? But the only way the customer can experience the value is understand the value is after experiencing it. Correct? If you cannot make the customer experience the value, right? Till then you don't have a sale. And that is where you have this premium strategy. Many companies are using this very, very successfully, right? So zero price to start with. After some point in time, you pay for it. Or Canva, for example, all of you will be using Canva, correct? You have a limited version, only 10 downloads per month or something like that, right? But now it can be used in many, many ways. Free for limited period of time, right? Or you can say unlimited for infinite period of, unlimited period of time you use it free, but with limited features, right? So there are different the ways in which the freemium is implemented. So free and premium is combined. So you want to get the customer in, because if you don't experience Canva, how will you buy it? Correct? Value is there. But unless I experience it, how can I take the decision of paying $8 per month or whatever they are asking for it, right? So I have to essentially offer them that for free for some time. And then only I can get hooked on, and then in that I differentiate, I say only 10 downloads, whatever graphics per month, etc. And then only genuinely, so I want people to experience, I want it to be set as a standard, right? Everybody starts using Canva. Today they have such a base. I had invested in a startup, and actually we ran it for about 1.5 years. We are now closing it down because Canva got many features that we are trying to build. Right? I lost a good deal of money in that because we couldn't invest so much. They have got tons of money now, right? So they have the kind of mind share that they have got from people. Everybody thinks of Canva only. It's very difficult for anybody seated here to name a competitor of Canva, and there are competitors. Very difficult to name the competitor, right? And they have very successfully used this freemium strategy. Free for some period of time, then you pay for it, or free for unlimited period of time but with limited features. And that's how you use that. It's again a value-based strategy, and you can also call it innovative strategy. The reason being, this is used for those products where the customer has to experience the product to understand the value, right? So it is linked to the value ultimately. And those who want value, they will pay for it. If I am okay with 10 downloads per month, which a lot of you guys may be okay with, right? As a student, but as a business person, I need that, so I pay for it, right? So that's a different thing. Second one, which is there is ROI based, right? So return on investment. And this is again very much in the business to business context, it is more used. So I had considered one of the companies is a global leader in the electronic segment, certain segment, and they were selling certain product in India, right? It's a sort of platform as a service kind of a product, right? PaaS product, and then they were finding it difficult to sell, right? Then I developed a ROI calculator for them, where their product was delivering a lot of value. It was in the services place, and mainly the IT services place were their customers, right? And then these guys were saving actually a lot of effort, the accuracy, etc. was increasing for the customer, but they have never quantified the value that they are delivering. So we help them quantify the value, right? What is the investment that you are doing and what is the return that you are getting, right? And we had to quantify it in the monetary terms, right? For example, if you are, let's say this was in the proposal management place, so you have your proposal team, right? And if it is helping them do the work in 50% time, you are saving a substantial amount of effort that is linked to your cost, right? What is the value that you are getting out of that? And we found that they were selling it to very, very cheap actually. So slowly over 2 years they increased the price also, because the ROI was very, very high, astronomically high ROI they were delivering to the customer, but at a very, very low price. So actually they increased the price. Right? So ROI based is one value linked kind of a value based pricing strategy where you need to quantify the ROI. It's possible to quantify the ROI. For example, if you are delivering, let's say you are building a new credit engine for a company, right? So they are, let's say it's a bank or it's an NBFC player, and you are helping them process their applications using an application, the customer applications using some IT system, right? So what is the benefit that they are getting out of that? Right? You can link it back and you can demonstrate through ROI. Another one that I have seen is this something called pay per drink or pay per use, right? So which is very popular model again. It is also called transaction based at times, depending on number of transactions that you do. For example, there is a company called ADP. Any of you knows that company? ADP is one of the giants in the US, right? So almost entire US capital markets runs on ADP, right? In the back end, right? And they do a lot of transaction based pricing, right? Depending on the number of transactions that your bank or your investment bank does, they charge you for that, right? It's also called pay per drink. Typically in a bar, how many drinks you have, you pay for it. Or pay per use, right? How much you use. That's also possible. Pay per use, you can think of examples. Pay per use.
So there are some matches that are like they are usually conducted on pay-per-view basis.
Pay per view. Yeah, pay per view is also an example of this, right? So how much you consume, you pay us based on that, right? So pay per view is also linked to this. There's one which I have mentioned in the end, pay as you wish, right? Have you seen this being implemented anywhere? Pay as you wish.
Yes, so that's a cafe in Mumbai.
Yeah.
Where?
There's a cafe in Mumbai. Two practice brands.
Is this doing it today? What is the name?
I forgot the name, so but it's like pay as you wish.
What is the? How does it work? What do you think? Why do you think this will be offered? Will you do it ever? Pay as you wish?
Will they allow me to exfoliate consume products?
Yes.
You can walk out.
Yeah.
They just want you to pay if you wish to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of cloud do they usually get?
You get every now you will pay. They won't consume product basically. You will pay at least.
So see,
What is the market going for?
there is a brand called Sarvara Rowan, South brand. Sarvara Rowan. Anybody from South? Sarvara Rowan, you have eaten it? Yeah? Sarvara Rowan is a restaurant chain from South, I think Chennai. They serve good food, right? Typically thalis, right? South Indian thali. When I was in Singapore about 20 years back, there was one which was very popular. Indian restaurants are quite a lot in Singapore. There's one which I can immediately sort of benchmark against is Kobla Vilas, right? Which was there. South Indian thali. This Sarvara Rowan, when they opened, for first 1 year, they had this pay as you wish in Singapore, right? Pay as you wish. When you go there, have a lunch, it's unlimited lunch, right? Whatever you want to have, whatever you want to pay, you pay. That's it.
Kind of like a penetration strategy, they're expensing it off.
You can also call it a penetration. But you need to have extremely high level of confidence in your product, right? They are very sure that customers will pay. I have hardly seen anybody walking out without making them. We were there a few times. Me, my team members, sister, we have been there a few times, right? Food quality is very good. Also, you see, who are the maximum population from India in Singapore? Tamils, right? They went there about 152 years back when Britishers took them there, right? For this, Sarvara Rowan is a known brand. Right? So you have to be very careful when you offer this. Also, you have to have some homogeneity in terms of population, right? If you have, for example, you put it in India, for example, you have to be very, very cautious. Because you might have beggars coming in, people who simply cannot afford to pay, right? They can't afford to pay, right? And they will not pay you anything. So, but in Singapore, that is not the case, right? In Singapore, per capita income, Singapore has been highest in the world, right, for last 10-20 years. So, number one, right, in terms of that. The possibility of people not paying is very low unless they really don't like, correct? And then they have that confidence in their product, and this has been implemented in restaurant industries in quite a few places. In most cases, they do it for limited period of time. Right? Running pay as you wish for a very long period of time is very, very difficult. Right?
So, do these
So that is one study that is used at times. So this is done in, for example, but this is done. I have seen being done for products. I have seen this. I have seen one NGO in Bangalore which used to do that. They used to have these artisans products over there, and they will say, this is the indicative price, and pay as you wish, right? So they have some kind of a benchmark. They will, sort of put some anchor over there. If I say it is 100 rupees, typically I will not take away without paying at least 80 rupees, right? Something like that. So they also, used to do that. But here in that case, in Sarvara, they are not having any kind of anchor. But in my mind, there was always an anchor. $6 at Kumla Vilas is what I was always comparing, right? Because the crowd is same. South Indian food in Singapore, same crowd is going here and there, correct? And there are 2-3 companies who are well known. They are charging about $6 to $7. That's what people typically ended up paying, $5 to $7, right? But again, a good strategy, if you have that much confidence in your product and for limited period of time, right? Again, you can link it to penetration strategy, for limited period of time, you can afford to do it. Again, it is value based. You have to be very confident about the value added delivering, and also that the customer will be able to put a reasonable value on that in a reasonable range. Right? Your product should not be so different that customers simply can't value it. If I say pay as you wish, for Mona Lisa painting, I may pay 10 rupees and take it. Right? But I don't understand. It's very abstract. You can't have a very abstract product being given in pay as you wish model, right? I don't think I'll pay more than 10 rupees, right? For Mona Lisa product. Anyway, I may not even pay 10 rupees, that's a different thing, but yeah, that's how it is. It can't be so abstract a product, right? It has to be more, something that the customer can assess the value. It has to be a commonly consumed item. There are a few more, like goal linked. So I gave example of this credit assessment system, for example, right? Or some such system where the customer has specific business goal, right? There's a business goal. For example, by using this system, we want to reduce our cost by X%. Or by implementing this system, I want to reduce the absenteeism of our people by X%, right? So company has 10,000 employees, and they identify the absenteeism that typically in a year people are absent without good causes for let's say 6 days in a year, right? Using this system, you'll be able to monitor and improve the absenteeism, and you can bring it down from 6 days to let's say 4 days, right? And then you can quantify that, you can link it to company's goal, right? And then you can value and charge them accordingly. You can say just implement our system, and this has been done, right? It's not something that is not done. CRM systems are a good example of this. HubSpot and others, right? When you buy a CRM system, they'll tell you your sales funnel is very big, right? Let's say you are doing your advertisements through Facebook or Google or something like that. You capture the lead, right? And that's a big process. Lead capture is a big process. Your advertisement is there. Then somebody has to click on that. Somebody might just view it and scroll down. Click on that, come to your landing page or your home page, has to register there, give the email, verify the email. It's a very huge process, right? And there is an attrition at every stage that is happening, right? So you can say that using our system, you will have more number of leads, there will be less lead attrition, right? The cost of conversion will be lower, and this is your business goal, and you will be able to achieve that, right? So that's why basically HubSpot and other CRMs are able to establish their value, the CRM systems. Because end of the day, you will see after maybe 2 months, 3 months whether your customer acquisition cost is going down or not, right? So it's directly linked to your cost of customer acquisition. Here is a goal linked, kind of a pricing model that you can implement in that particular case. And very difficult to do. You have to be extremely confident of your product. You have to understand the domain very, very well in order to do something like this, right? Because you are telling the customer about his goals, and you have to be so confident about that particular area, that niche that you have. So you'll have this only in a niche. It's a very niche kind of a product. You can't go and generally sell goal-based, kind of a value proposition in every case, right? CRM system, you are very good in understanding how CRM works, how sales process works. Maybe you can price it accordingly, but you can't do it in every case, right? Last, I would like to talk about is funnel pricing. So I think a lot of you will know about this, correct? So funnel pricing, how does it work? What is funnel? This acquisition funnel I said, right? But beyond that, once the customer is with you, also you might have a funnel, right? There is a time, trust and value relationship with the customer, correct? As the customer spends more time with you, experiences your product or service for more time, right? Slowly you can sell him high priced items, right? As the customer's trust in you increases, he will be willing to make more investment with you. Initially, he might test you with some products, and as his trust increases, as he experiences the quality of your product, he might spend more with you.
Is then freemium and funnel interconnected?
Yeah, so freemium is, no, funnel will mean that you have something more to sell. So already you are selling him something, right? Freemium is free to premium. Here it is, you are selling him X, maybe you are selling him some low value items, right, initially, and then you are sort of taking him to higher value items. Right? So big ticket is what you are selling him now. So it's you are using the fact that his relationship is with you for some time, he or she has developed higher level of trust, and now you are pitching the big ticket item to that particular customer. So in this case, you have to have multiple products in your portfolio, correct? And these are linked, of course, they are not distinct strategies. So in some way you can link to that, but these are different.
So a lot of agencies use this method, like digital marketing agencies or social media agencies,
Correct.
and even maybe like edtech companies. They offer like short-term workshops first, and then once the child gets into it and the parent sees a difference, they then sell like long-term workshops.
I myself sold my pricing workshops using this strategy, right? Funnel strategy. So I used to have, I used to get leads through Facebook and LinkedIn. Then I will sell a free webinar, correct? This is zero price strategy, which is an innovative strategy. I have not put it over here, and it's a different science altogether. But it is a zero price webinar, and you come there and I introduce you to pricing strategies. Maybe I'll discuss marginal pricing, and then I used to sell my pricing course on top of that, and after that there is a consulting engagement, right? So it's a funnel. Right, so as customer gets more and more trust in you, first a free webinar, then if he is convinced, then he'll go for training, and then he might come to me for consulting. Right, that's basically a funnel strategy. Right, it is different from freemium in that sense. It's not exactly the same as freemium. Freemium is you are giving some product free for some time, and then you will start charging for that. And again, as I said, unlimited period of time, limited features typically, or limited period of time, full features, and both of these are possible in that case. You can't give unlimited period of time and unlimited features, otherwise customer will never buy from you, right? He will just enjoy it for free. Any case studies, any examples, etc. Otherwise, we are done with what I wanted to cover today. So, in the Kotler's book, these are not exactly mentioned. He has a different way of presenting that, but I just presented my point of view and experience of what I have done. So if you want to know more, of course, I think I should be selling my book, right? So the book is available, Rise to Profit on Amazon. If you are a Kindle Unlimited user, you can read it for free, right? So all these 30-40 strategies are mentioned there, the checklist is given there and all that stuff, right? For example, if you want to implement, pay as you wish kind of a strategy, right? What is it that the things are you have to look for, right? As I said, you can't have beggars coming in, obviously they can't afford to pay, they will eat every day. And this is just typically happens in, let's say, Tirupati Devasthanam and all that, because they are not there for making money, correct? They want to feed them. But as a business, you can't afford to do that, right? So you have to be very cautious in implementing any of these strategies. You should have your own checklist in terms of where you will use these. That's very, very important in this case. So in terms of coverage, it is done. If you want to discuss anything like you had these doubts, etc., we can discuss that. Anything from your side, Freaky?
No, I think you've covered what we spoke about. I think from the context of this module, the students now need to apply what you have shared with them in their group projects. In the first semester, they've chosen a product or a service or a brand, and they followed the 3 steps in the marketing model. So, and my advice to them when we started term 2 is go back to the value proposition and your positioning. And I think you gave us a lot of food for thought, because every time you explained some of these issues from a pricing point of view, you referred to value. So my suggestion to the groups are, as soon as possible after this lecture today, go back and look at the value proposition and also look at your pricing strategy, which you will definitely have to make part of your presentation when you do your group presentation. So it's, as I said when I introduced Prof. Marathe, it's not easy to teach pricing, but he's got a very good experience over the years, and I want to thank him for the way in which he presented. I think he also backed up the possibilities by providing you with Indian examples which you can associate with. So from my side, I want to thank you for the time that you've spent with us, and you can be assured that we will perhaps also in our promotional material of this specific guest lecture also promote your book.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for the class. Also, I think good enough and good questions as well. I know we can cover each of these in much detail, right? But I had to give an overview of these strategies today, because we couldn't have got into details of how to actually do this marginal pricing, for example, right? But I think that's for some other day. Right? Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks everyone.